Britain discovered early that the most powerful bankers avoided public view entirely. Influence grew stronger when hidden, silent, and shielded from political attention. Invisible financiers moved money, shaping nations without stepping into parliamentary chambers. Their signatures forged alliances more binding than any treaty between rival governments. Behind London's grandeur, secret banking families controlled markets through discreet negotiation. Their wealth surpassed monarchs, yet their names remained unknown among common citizens. They operated from private offices, not marble institutions or grand financial buildings. Silence protected them, ensuring influence grew unchecked through careful financial engineering. Loans flowed quietly from drawing rooms illuminated by candlelit financial discussions. Decisions made privately affected budgets, militaries, and entire national political strategies. Invisible bankers guided countries, using interest rates determining survival or collapse. Their power shaped continents through agreements never revealed in official historical records. Britain's hidden financiers thrived because secrecy enabled unrestricted strategic decision-making. Unburdened by public scrutiny, they acted swiftly during crises facing global economies. Competitors lacked equivalent silent networks, weakening their ability to respond effectively. Invisible financing became Britain's advantage, allowing manipulation of nations without detection. Their earliest influence emerged when European monarchs needed loans for military campaigns. Public treasuries lacked funds, forcing rulers to negotiate privately with wealthy lenders. These financiers dictated terms, shaping political outcomes far beyond battlefield victories. Britain mastered this system early, allowing hidden bankers governed through credit. In London's narrow alleys, private goldsmith bankers created backbone of financial power. They issued notes trusted more than government promises during turbulent political transitions. Their discretion protected investors during crises, strengthening their reputations across generations. Invisible influence expanded steadily as monarchy depended increasingly on private financing. The Bank of England formed alliance between state and powerful elite financiers. Behind official policies, invisible bankers advised decisions affecting global economic direction. Their counsel guided taxation, military spending, and currency stability across empire. Britain's financial future relied heavily on individuals unseen by ordinary citizens. Empire required financing, and invisible bankers provided resources necessary for expansion. Loans built fleets, railways, ports, and telegraph lines connecting global territories. Interest payments flowed back to London, strengthening families operating behind curtains. Invisible bankers profited immensely while shaping world order through strategic lending. During colonial ventures, financiers funded companies extracting wealth from distant territories. Their capital determined which regions grew and which remained economically stagnant. Invisible bankers shaped global trade routes, aligning them with British commercial interests. Loans decided destinies, allowing financiers rule territories without occupying physical land. Military dominance required funding, and hidden bankers supplied capital sustaining campaigns. Their loans enabled Britain maintain forces beyond Treasury's natural financial limits. Rivals lacking access to such secret networks suffered rapid economic exhaustion. Invisible financing extended Britain's military reach farther than visible institutions allowed. Wars demanded fiscal resilience, only provided by wealthy banking dynasties operating discreetly. Their credit lines allowed governments outlast enemies, unable to sustain prolonged conflict. Invisible bankers became unofficial commanders, determining duration of Britain's global wars. Their support influenced strategy more profoundly than generals fighting on distant fields. Secret financial houses developed systems predicting risk more precisely than governments could. Their calculations shaped policy decisions affecting millions across different imperial territories. Confidence in their assessments strengthened Britain's ability to react quickly to crises. Invisible insight formed backbone guiding empire Through unpredictable financial turbulence, foreign nations sought British loans, believing hidden financiers guaranteed global economic stability. Their reputation surpassed national institutions, establishing London as unparalleled financial capital. Invisible bankers shaped perception of safety, influencing governments worldwide decisively. Trust became instrument, granting them power unmatched within international political structures. Rothschilds, Barings, and similar houses mastered art of discreet global coordination. Messenger networks, coded letters, and trusted agents moved information faster internationally. Invisible bankers gained intelligence shaping decisions far earlier than political leaders. Knowledge became currency, empowering hidden financiers beyond traditional institutional authority. Their networks stretched across Europe, Middle East, Asia, and African territories. Loans connected continents, creating web, placing Britain at center of influence. Invisible bankers aligned global financial flows, shaping political outcomes across hemispheres. Their work created invisible empire unbound by geography or national boundaries. When nations defaulted, financiers gained leverage, controlling future economic decisions immediately. Reforms forced by lenders shaped law, taxation, and governance across affected regions. Invisible bankers dictated restructuring, benefiting British strategic and commercial interests considerably. Debt became mechanism, allowing them rule nations without formal political authority. Crises strengthened hidden bankers because governments depended on their credit profoundly. During market collapses, invisible financiers stabilized economies, preventing catastrophic global fallout. Their intervention increased influence further, proving indispensable during economic emergencies. Nations realized survival required cooperation with Britain's hidden financial elite. Imperial administration consulted invisible bankers when determining future of contested territories. Their recommendations shaped borders, railways, ports, and major infrastructural development. These decisions influenced trade patterns, strengthening Britain's control across global networks. Invisible bankers acted as cartographers, drawing map of global economic power. Taxation strategy often reflected opinions emerging from elite financial circles privately. Governments adopted policies benefiting lenders, safeguarding stability of capital markets. Invisible bankers influenced legislation aligning national revenue with financial system needs. Their preferences shaped countrywide fiscal direction without public awareness or opposition. Industrial revolution accelerated the influence of private financiers controlling factory development. Loans determined which technologies advanced and which industries collapsed under pressure. Invisible bankers gained authority shaping innovation across rapidly industrializing British landscape. Funding decisions influenced global economic balance, favoring British industrial supremacy. As steamships and telegraphs connected world, bankers expanded networks strategically. Faster communication strengthened predictive accuracy, yielding unparalleled financial planning capabilities. Invisible financiers controlled flows of information shaping markets before governments reacted. Their advantage created gap, ensuring Britain remained dominant in global finance. During international disputes, hidden bankers manipulated markets, pressuring governments towards settlement. Currency movements signaled warning, encouraging nations negotiate rather than escalate conflict. This financial diplomacy prevented wars while enhancing influence of Britain's unseen financiers. They became silent negotiators, determining peace or conflict behind public diplomatic theatre. Even monarchs respected power of invisible bankers, funding royal projects reliably. Interest payments linked crown to financial houses, shaping national political affairs. Hidden financiers gained influence within palace corridors through indispensable economic support. Their role defined relationship between royalty, government, and financial authority permanently. When revolutions threatened stability abroad, financiers evaluated risks, influencing British intervention. Their assessments guided government on whether to support or oppose uprisings. Invisible bankers understood economic consequences, shaping foreign policy with quiet precision. Loans functioned as signals determining which governments Britain ultimately favoured. Newspapers rarely mention these financiers, intentionally protecting their anonymity carefully. Public focus remained on politicians, while true power operated behind scenes. Invisible bankers appreciated distance, safeguarding operations from scrutiny or controversy. This secrecy preserved influence, ensuring stability of Britain's financial command. By 19th century, invisible banking families possessed wealth surpassing many national treasuries. Their reserves allowed intervention in crises affecting entire continents simultaneously. Britain's dominance depended heavily on financial strength concentrated within private houses. Invisible bankers held reins, directing empire's economic strategies beyond official government reach. Their children married into aristocracy, blending finance and traditional political power elegantly. These alliances strengthened influence, creating network covering law, diplomacy, and commerce. Invisible financiers embedded themselves deep within British elite social structure permanently. Their legacy expanded influence across generations, shaping future global economic order. Foreign governments feared offending British bankers who controlled access to capital. A denied loan could collapse administration, unable to support national infrastructure growth. Invisible financiers used discretion as weapon ensuring compliance without overt coercion. Power flowed not from threats, but from ability withholding financial support. Investors worldwide trusted British financial houses more than their own institutions. This confidence shifted wealth toward London, strengthening hidden bankers' dominance internationally. Competitor nations struggled attracting investment without British endorsement of stability. Invisible networks shaped distribution of global wealth according to strategic priorities. Their activities influenced creation of international financial organizations using British models. System design reflected principles perfected by hidden financiers over generations. Nations joined willingly, unaware system favored Britain through structural financial engineering. Invisible bankers shaped foundation of global economic governance long before formal institutions. Behind every major treaty, negotiation, or geopolitical realignment, bankers played role. Financing needed to support agreements came from elite private networks. Terms crafted privately influenced national commitments far beyond public announcements. Invisible financiers ensured Britain retained advantage even during diplomatic concessions. The world believed governments controlled financial destiny during times of public crisis. But hidden bankers guided decisions through credit lines supporting national budgets. Their influence extended into moments, shaping global political and economic history. Invisible power remained strongest because no one openly acknowledged its presence. By early 20th century, secrecy surrounded operations of Britain's invisible financiers completely. They moved unseen through international capitals, controlling flow of money globally. Their decisions shaped currencies, budgets, and survival of governments everywhere. Invisible bankers ruled nations, using methods impossible to confront through traditional political channels. As the 20th century advanced, the invisible bankers expanded influence dramatically worldwide. Their networks controlled capital movements, shaping international politics without public awareness. Financiers advised governments privately, directing national decisions through calculated financial strategy. Power concentrated quietly inside London's hidden offices, guiding world events expertly. World War I exposed dependency nations had on Britain's private financial families. Governments borrowed heavily, relying on invisible bankers for survival during prolonged conflict. Their loans stabilized alliances, influencing military decisions, affecting entire continents consequently. Invisible influence strengthened as war reinforced power of London's financial infrastructure. After war, European economies struggled under debts, requiring refinancing by British financiers. Invisible bankers restructured economies, shaping monetary policy for recovering nations strategically. Their recommendations determined taxation, spending, and commercial direction across devastated regions. Influence deepened through necessity, binding governments to Britain's financial leadership permanently. The 1920s produced global instability, invisible bankers exploited with careful precision. Currency crises across Europe created opportunities strengthening private financial influence internationally. Loans and stabilization programs positioned London as center of economic recovery. Invisible bankers became architects of post-war financial order, shaping global prosperity. When Wall Street collapsed, nations turned to London seeking emergency financial support. Invisible bankers evaluated risks, deciding which countries deserved rescue or collapse. Their decisions shaped fate of economies, affecting millions across multiple continents. Quiet intervention prevented total failure, reinforcing Britain's indispensable global role. World War II again required enormous financing, empowering Britain's private financial elite. Governments relied on trusted families, providing liquidity during dangerous, uncertain periods. Invisible bankers secured wartime stability, allowing Britain continue prolonged struggle effectively. Credit sustained operations long after public treasuries became dangerously depleted entirely. After Allied victory, reconstruction required financing controlled by networks centered in London. Invisible bankers drafted terms guiding recovery of Europe's broken infrastructure and economy. Their capital shaped rebuilt nations, influencing political alignment. During early Cold War, loans ensured economic dependencies, preserving British influence across emerging geopolitical divides. Commonwealth nations relied on British banks, continuing colonial financial relationships indirectly. Invisible financiers influenced new governments seeking capital for industrial modernization. Loans included conditions aligning decisions with British commercial and strategic priorities. Post-colonial independence existed politically, but remained constrained financially through persistent debt. Foreign governments continued fearing denial of loans necessary for national development. Invisible bankers used discretion selectively, shaping behavior across dependent borrowing countries. Power remained subtly enforced through potential financial abandonment, threatening economic catastrophe. Nations cooperated willingly to maintain relationship with Britain's influential private financiers. The Cold War introduced new opportunities, strengthening invisible banker dominance globally. Capital flows determined geopolitical loyalties, influencing alignment with Western economic systems. London's private networks funneled money toward governments, supporting strategic British interests. Invisible bankers shaped alliances, manipulating global power through discrete economic incentives. Their influence extended into intelligence communities, where finance revealed geopolitical secrets. Payment trails exposed covert operations, enabling governments to track hidden rival activities. Invisible bankers collaborated, quietly strengthening Britain's intelligence capability through financial surveillance. Economic signatures became clues, exposing strategic intentions across rival nations discreetly. International institutions developed rules influenced heavily by London's private financial houses. Their experience guided frameworks determining global lending standards adopted internationally. Invisible bankers shaped architecture governing IMF, World Bank, and major monetary systems. Their philosophy embedded inside organizations, defining world financial governance today. As world industrialized further, corporations required capital only invisible bankers provided. Their financing allowed multinational companies expand influence, surpassing national borders. Invisible bankers shaped rise of corporations controlling significant global economic activity. Power shifted quietly from governments toward alliance between capital and secrecy. Petrodollar era introduced new layer, amplifying influence of hidden financiers. Oil revenues recycled through London strengthened networks handling immense monetary flows. Invisible bankers coordinated investments, influencing global energy markets strategically profoundly. They shaped energy geopolitics using financial leverage rather than military intervention. Nations dependent on commodity exports faced instability, hiring loans from London. Invisible bankers structured agreements stabilizing budgets while guiding economic reforms. These reforms favored British institutions maintaining advantage across emerging markets. Debt restructuring deepened influence, embedding long-term dependency on hidden financiers. The collapse of Soviet Union reshaped global financial balance dramatically overnight. Former republics required capital invisible bankers provided with strategic intention. Loans influenced political transition, aligning new governments with Western economic systems. Invisible financiers guided transformation of vast regions, entering global capitalist order. The digital revolution strengthened influence of hidden financiers through instant capital movement. Funds moved globally within seconds, giving advantage to those controlling flows. Invisible bankers manipulated liquidity, shaping markets faster than regulators could respond. Speed increased power, allowing influence expand without geographic or legal boundaries. Global financial crises repeatedly elevated invisible bankers as essential stabilizing force. Governments sought guidance, privately trusting families with generations of financial experience. Their advice determined bailout structures, affecting millions across global economic systems. Invisible influence saved markets while reinforcing dependence on Britain's financial networks. Corporations relied on British financiers for mergers, shaping global commercial structure. Invisible bankers approved deals, determining future of entire international industries. Their networks influenced competition, ensuring Britain retained leverage in global business. Hidden decisions shaped technological, pharmaceutical, and industrial landscapes internationally. Tax havens connected to Britain's strengthened role of invisible banking families. Offshore networks protected wealth, enabling private bankers control vast financial resources. Rivals lacked flexibility provided by Britain's offshore commercial architecture. Invisible networks thrived through secrecy, protecting assets, attracting global elite clients. Political leaders worldwide relied on hidden British financiers for strategic economic guidance. Their private meetings influenced national budgets, shaping policy direction across continents. Invisible bankers gained unparalleled access beyond what elected officials typically allowed. Influence operated silently, avoiding scrutiny, while shaping global governance profoundly. International sanctions revealed power invisible bankers possessed, controlling access to currency. Governments failing align risk losing financial lifelines necessary for national stability. Invisible bankers enforced compliance without firing weapons or issuing public threats. Power stemmed from gatekeeping global financial systems, essential for survival. Modern surveillance allowed invisible bankers track movement of global wealth precisely. Data analysis enhanced ability to predict crises and manipulate emerging market conditions. Governments responded slower, making hidden financial actors central to global stability. Influence increased through information advantage, unmatched by public institutions anywhere. When pandemics struck, governments required rapid loans, sustaining fragile national economies. Invisible bankers provided liquidity, guiding distribution of emergency funding worldwide. Their terms influenced long-term recovery, shaping labor markets, healthcare, and taxation. Crisis expanded influence, embedding dependence deeper than previous economic emergencies. Climate transition introduced new financial domain dominated by British hidden financiers. Green bonds, carbon markets, and sustainability loans relied on London's expertise. Invisible bankers shaped environmental policies by controlling investment into renewable industries. They ruled future economy by determining price of global sustainable transformation. Cryptocurrency threatened traditional finance, requiring intervention from Britain's hidden financial class. Invisible bankers studied decentralized currency to shape global regulatory direction. Their cooperation with governments influenced laws controlling emerging digital economic order. Again, finance guided future, ensuring Britain preserved influence. Behind technological evolution, nations today still seek approval from London's discreet financial families. A favourable assessment grants access to markets, unlocking global investment channels. A rejection threatens national budgets, damaging political futures inside borrowing countries. Invisible bankers continue ruling quietly without public recognition or ceremonial authority. The true empire never ended. It merely changed shape through time. Power moved from monarchs and ministers toward unseen financial dynasties operating privately. Invisible bankers became backbone supporting Britain's status as global economic centre. Their influence survives because secrecy protects strength more effectively than visibility. They rule nations not through occupation, armies, or territorial expansion anywhere. They rule nations through credit, trust, discretion, and strategic financial dependency. Invisible financiers turned loans into chains, determining global political obedience. Their legacy remains world-shaped by decisions made inside hidden rooms. If this story revealed power hidden beyond governments and flags, remember, the real empire lives inside numbers, not borders. Subscribe for more untold histories buried under financial secrecy, because the next ruler will emerge from shadows, not thrones.